In today's video, we're going to be going over step by step the best wholesale real estate business setup for 2025. But before we dive into that, let's go find a nice beach to talk about the very first part. So first, we're going to dive into what my business setup is for the year 2025. I'm going to break down how we get leads, who handles leads, how we sell the deals, how we manage everything, especially when I'm somewhere like this, which is Curacao down in the Caribbean. And then I'm going to break down how you can get to this business from wherever you're starting at so that you can then run your business 100% virtually. For me, I don't talk to sellers, I don't talk to buyers, I barely even spend time in the United States. I'm a full-time digital nomad, traveling the world, currently hanging out in the Caribbean. And if you want to be able to build a wholesale business and live a lifestyle like this, stick around because in this video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know. And later on in the video, I'm gonna give you the step-by-step blueprint on how you can get this business set up as well. So be sure to stick around to the end of the video for that. And guys, if you do find this content helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and drop a comment. Let me know what other content you guys wanna see from me, and I'll be sure to make it for you. Without further ado, let's dive on in. So over here, you guys can see my current business setup, and we're gonna break down starting from the very top of the funnel, top of the business, which is leads. One of the most important things in your business. Leads are the bloodline, the lifeline. They are oxygen to your business. Without leads, you have no deals. Without deals, you have no money. Without money, you have no business. So make sure that your leads are dialed in. At the moment, we are getting our leads two different ways. We are doing cold calling. We have virtual assistants that manage that. And then the second lead generation source is PPL, which is pay per lead. There's a lot of different lead providers that we use. I have trainings on a couple of them linked down below and in other videos that I've posted. But effectively for PPL, what you can do is you can go on these different lead providers' websites, look at the leads they have available, simply click it, buy it, you get the owner's contact information, you get all the property information, you know, the condition, the year it was built, occupancy, why they want to sell, their motivation, etc. And then all you need to do is pick up the phone, call them, run numbers, and make an offer. Something else I have been noticing recently in our business, as well as a couple of the people that I'm coaching, is with the cold calling. Cold calling obviously works for both houses and land, but something I've noticed is you get a 2 to 3x greater lead generation from cold calling when you're doing land. So if you guys are contemplating getting cold callers and you're familiar with land, wouldn't be that bad of an idea to start targeting land instead of houses or in addition to houses, because you will get substantially more leads by cold calling land, simply because there's a lot fewer people that wholesale land and that target land. Now, the virtual assistants that we use in our business are down below. If you guys want to book a call with them, you can get chit-chatting with them. They're fully trained, managed, they do everything for you, pull the data, skip trace it, all that kind of jazz. If you guys want to go hire your own, you can go on Upwork, Fiverr, onlinejobs.ph, remotelatinos.com, any of those places, hire a cold caller, get all the systems set up, pull the data, skip trace the data, set up a power dialer, do all that kind of jazz, and then set them off to the races. They'll start cold calling and generating leads for you. Lead generation tackled, that is step number 1 in the funnel. That is what we are currently running in our business. And you'll notice so far, nothing what I've said requires me to be in the US, in person, anywhere. All I need is internet, which, believe it or not, they have down here in the Caribbean, so you can run your business from the Caribbean. Now, section number 2 of this funnel is gonna be, once we get leads, what happens with them? They go straight into our CRM. We have different integrations built out from the PPL providers as well as from our cold callers, so that the second a lead is generated, it goes into our CRM. Our acquisition managers get notified, it gets assigned to one of them, and then they pick up the phone, run numbers, and do that task. Now, the acquisition managers we have, they are also virtual. So we do not have in-person acquisition managers at an office or in America or anything like that. They are from a different country and they run our acquisitions. So they are in charge of calling the leads, running the numbers, negotiating pricing, estimating rehab costs, and getting contracts signed. Now on that, if there is a special case where maybe they need help with something, they want comps double checked, or they want to make sure that an offer sounds good, they'll send it over to me. I can quickly take a look at it and say, yep, stamp of approval, here you go. Or I'll say, you know what, I think you might have missed XYZ, let's change the offer to this. So we got leads coming in, cold calling and PPL, acquisition managers hit those leads up, run the numbers, make the offers. When they do get an offer accepted, we then send a contract through Loop. That is an electronic signature platform, so no, you do not have to sign contracts in person, you can sign them electronically. I think Loop's better than DocuSign. That's a hill I'm gonna die on, but try Loop instead of DocuSign, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So we've had leads generated, we've had contracts signed. Next step is, what do we do from a signed contract? That next step is then gonna be handed over to our disposition manager. Our disposition manager's job is to get the property sold. In that interim, we do also send people out to go get photos. We use Investor Boots for that. If you guys have not checked them out, they can do anything and everything. They're amazing. If you don't wanna pay for them, you can see if the homeowner can take them, you can see if a tenant can take them. You could go on Thumbtack. They app on your phone. You could hire a handyman to go out and take the photos. You could hire a photographer. Typically photographers are gonna be a little bit more expensive, so I would opt for the handyman, the seller, or the tenant if you're not gonna do investor boots, but investor boots is what we do. So we utilize investor boots. We get photos of the interior, photos of the exterior, video walkthrough of the interior and exterior. Videos are huge when you're trying to sell deals virtually. It helps a buyer get a true feel for the home, and it can increase the odds of someone wanting to go walk the property, which is the next step for most buyers. So now we have our deal packet put together, which is all the information, the asking price, photos, ages of the major systems, the occupancy at closing, the closing date, all that kind of jazz. Our disposition managers then take those numbers, reach out to buyers that we currently have, or if it's in a market that we don't have that many buyers in, we will have them log on to Investor Base, which I have a free training on, linked somewhere in this video. You guys can go check that out. And then our disposition manager will simply get on Investor Base or work the buyers in our system that we already have, give them a call and say, hey, John, saw you recently flipped a property over on this street. We've got a deal next door. Reach out to see if you're looking for another deal in the area. If they say yes, awesome, she shoots the information over. We'll try and go over it on the phone with them if they're busy or whatnot. We'll shoot the email, schedule a time to follow back up with them, and then follow back up with them and see if the deal looks good. As she's doing that, we will be scheduling walkthroughs. So we will have the interested buyers go view the property in person if they need to. Some buyers do buy sight unseen, especially if you have really good photos, really good videos, and maybe even an inspection report. That can help a lot. But most of the time, the buyers do go walk the property, get a feel for it, and then once we have a couple bids back, we typically take the best offer. Now, when we take the offer from the buyer, we then sign an assignment agreement with them, and we require they put down anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 non-refundable earnest money at the title company within 24 hours of signing the contract. If that earnest money is not deposited, the assignment contract is automatically voided and we go to the next best offer. Beautiful. So now we've gotten leads, we've got a contract signed, we got a buyer lined up, we got the buyer signed, all the documents are at title, and now we wait for closing. If anything does come up that needs attention, depending on what the thing is, I might be able to help with that. Acquisition manager might be able to help. Disposition manager might be able to help, but somebody will get the answer for whomever is asking the question. And then we wait until the closing day. And on the day of closing, because it's an assignment, we don't have to be there in person. We don't have to sign anything. We just get the money wired straight to the bank account. Title company will call to verify wire information, typically day of or day before, just to make sure everything's on the up and up. Eric, what if you're doing a double close? Double closes, don't you have to sign in person? You do have to do a signature. However, you can get a remote online notary, a ROM, get on a Zoom call with them because you're gonna be the one signing. You get on a Zoom call with them, they go through everything and you sign electronically for a double close. So you can still do double closes virtually. You do not have to go into the title company or do a mail away closing. Now, if you are in the States, unlike me, traveling full time, you can do what's called a mail away closing, which is where they will simply mail you the documents, you sign them and mail them right back. Obviously, the title company's not gonna mail me documents to sign in the Caribbean or if I'm in Europe or Southeast Asia, so we always opt for the remote online notary if we're doing a double close. So that is the 2025 business that I have currently running. And next, we're gonna dive into how you guys can get started getting that entire business set up on your own so that you guys can begin closing deals virtually, you guys can travel the world full time, and this could be the view from your office. All right, we're about to dive into how you guys can get the same thing set up and what steps to take and what order you should take them in. But first, one quick note, one of my favorite parts about traveling the world, the whole digital nomad thing, is constantly finding cool new spots, cool new restaurants, cool new views, whatnot. One of my friends on the island just recommended that I come check this place out. I told him I was filming a YouTube video and they're like, oh, you gotta get this vantage point. So was able to come over here, check the spot out. Absolutely love this view. You got great views of the ocean, oil tankers that come here for maintenance and whatnot. Not the most pretty thing, kind of cool, kind of an eyesore. I'm 50-50 on it. But anyway, let's dive into getting set up. So when it comes to emulating this strategy that I'm currently getting set up that you guys can get set up in 2025, step number one, utmost importance is leads. You need to get your lead flow dialed down first. Now in this, we're gonna cover a couple different things, free versus paid, what to do depending on where you're at, which one to pick, and all that kind of jazz. So let's dive in. First things first, trying to close deals the free way versus doing the paid way. I'm gonna recommend the paid way every single time. 10 times out of 10, 100%, no questions asked. Can you wholesale for free? Absolutely. I've seen people do it, I've helped people do it, I've coached people do it, people in the community have done it, 100% works. However, closing deals for free is like walking everywhere. Closing deals with paid leads is like driving. Will you get to the same destination? Absolutely. Is one gonna require more time and more effort? Absolutely. So if you wanna drive to your first deal or to your next deal instead of walk, paid leads is the move. Now with that being said, Eric, I don't have the budget for paid leads. I don't have $1,000, I don't have $2,000. If you have 100, you guys can use Newly. It's a company that we partner with. They're linked down below. First month's $100. They're great. People in the community use them. We use them. You can close deals from them. They're amazing. Now with that being said, if we're looking at the difference between PPL and cold calling, pros and cons of each, right? Cold calling, you can get a lot more hyper targeted with what you want, where you want to get it. You get to pull the data. The downsides is the lead flow is slower and typically the cash conversion cycle takes longer. Cash conversion cycle, what is that? That means how long does it take me to make my money back plus some from the time that I put it in? So with cold calling, it's typically 90 days, maybe a little bit more. PPL and PPC, it's typically 30 to 45 days. So if you're thinking between hiring a cold caller or going PPL, if you're just starting or you want to add in the new marketing channel, I would personally pick PPL first. Number one, the leads convert faster. Number two, you can get more leads per day, depending on your budget, than you can with cold calling. For example, with PPL, you can simply go on a website and buy 15 leads today. And you can work 15 leads today, you can work 15 leads this week. Cold calling, if you get one cold caller, you're not really gonna get 15 leads a day. Most cold callers with decent data get 2 to 3 decent looking leads per day. So if it were me, I would go PPL first, get yourself set up on PPL. If you want the free training on how to utilize PPL, it's linked somewhere in this video. You guys can go watch that on getting it set up and get your leads start flowing in literally today. Unless you're watching this at 11:59 p.m., then you might have to wait till tomorrow. And one more thing to add on the free versus paid. If you're like, Eric, I want to go paid, but I don't have the money for it. Number one, look at your spending, reduce it and save money. Number two, pick up a second job, pick up a 1099 gig like Uber, DoorDash, or something like that, or go mow lawns or pressure, do something to just make some side cash, go stock up 2 grand, 3 grand, put it aside and then invest it in your company. You will close deals faster with paid leads. Final note on paid leads before you guys get this set up, if you cannot commit to 90 days, don't even start. You are probably just gonna waste money. Way too often, I see people hire a cold caller for a month or they go buy 10 or 15 leads, don't close the deal and say, this doesn't work, I give up, I quit, this is stupid. It does work, but you have to stick to the plan. This is a business. It's not an overnight get rich quick scheme. You are starting a legitimate business. It's going to be challenging. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. However, if you stick with it, which is why you have to have the 90-day commitment, you can legitimately start closing deals virtually. You can travel the world. You can retire your parents. You can retire your wife or your girlfriend. You can do those things, but it takes commitment, it takes dedication, and it takes time. So commit to 90 days, have the budget to be able to afford the type of lead generation that you're gonna commit to for the next 90 days and get started. All right, so we just got back to the pool over at the Airbnb that I'm staying at, like in this cool little gated community, private little pool right in here. Now before we move on to step number 2 of how you guys can build this type of business for yourself, I did also want to touch on another cool part of the whole digital nomad thing, which is the people that you'll meet, right? So I've been to over 20 countries. I've been able to make friends in all those countries, hang out with some cool people, still keep in touch with a lot of them. And one of my favorite parts is just meeting people from different areas of the world, right? Because if you're so used to meeting people either in the town you grew up in or the state you're from or whatever it is, and you've never experienced getting to meet people from different cultures, different countries, you know, sometimes the way they say things is fun, like the slang they use, maybe how they go through their day or through their life or whatever it is. It's just cool to see other people's experiences of life coming from a different country. So that's another awesome thing. I think it's super eye-opening just to get to explore. So if you have an itch to do it, if you're like, man, that sounds like a lot of fun, I would really start considering it. And if you have like questions on how to do that, drop them down below. Would love to help out. Again, I've been doing it for over 2 years, 20 plus countries so far, and we are still climbing. Now, step number 2, as far as getting your business set up this way, is if you don't have a CRM already, you need to have a proper CRM. There's tons of really good ones out there, like Ari Simply is a very popular one. Investor Fuse 3 is another great one. Those are both paid. Podio is a free one. Personally, I've never used Podio. We use Go High Level. We have a custom built Go High Level that we use. You can also use Google Sheets. You can use Trello. There's tons of different ways to manage and track your leads. But if you are not managing and tracking your leads, or you're skimming through emails or text messages or screenshots or whatever it is to try and keep track of your leads, I promise you, deals are falling through the cracks. So before you go hire anybody like an acquisition manager or a disposition manager, you need to make sure that first off, your leads are in check and your systems are in check. So when you do go hire that person, like an acquisition manager, they have the leads coming in, they have the system to follow, they know what KPIs and metrics to hit, and then it's your job to train them and manage them to ensure that they hit those metrics every single day and they're continuously improving on their craft. Okay, so far we have leads coming in, we have proper CRM management, and from here, you are still gonna be running acquisitions and dispositions, which is totally fine. And you can scale that. You can do some pretty sizable numbers with just you as a one-man band. However, if your goal is to really scale, maybe it's travel, maybe it's work less in the business and work more on the business, that's where step number 3 is gonna come into place, which is going to be the hiring. Before you do that, you don't wanna jump the gun and hire people too early, because the last thing you wanna do is go find an A player who's going to crush it, but they don't have enough, if it's an acquisition manager, for example, they don't have enough leads in the pipeline to be able to keep them busy and get them paid the way they want to get paid. So it is gonna vary a little bit person to person, but for the most part, if you get a full-time acquisition manager, they can typically manage anywhere from 3 to 7 new leads per day. And then at any given time, they'll have anywhere from 50 to 100 leads that they're constantly working. And because as new leads come in, they're going to get put as contract, follow-up, dead, or no answer, and then you're gonna have to just continually reach back out to them, which would then be the acquisition manager's job. Now, for hiring the acquisition manager, that you can go on Upwork, you can go on Fiverr, you can go on onlinejobs.ph, you can go on remotelatinos.com, you can go on Indeed if you wanna hire someone American-based. Obviously, it's gonna cost more, but that's just something to consider for you and your business. And that would be the first hire that I would make once you have consistent leads, consistent deals closing. So if you're not doing at least 2 to 3 deals a month, I probably wouldn't look at hiring someone until you get that system down. You also want to make sure that you have the budget to be able to pay for that person for at least 90 days before you hire them, because again, what you do not want to do is go hire someone, train them, manage them, get them all set up, get them rolling, and then you run out of money and you can't keep them on board, and then you've wasted all that time and effort on that person, and you've wasted the money on paying them for only a month or 6 weeks or whatever it may be. So when you do go out and hire the acquisition manager, you want to make sure you have proper lead flow. Again, 3 to 7 new leads per day, so whether that's from the cold call, whether that's from PPL, so you need to make sure you have the budget for that, and then make sure you also have the budget to keep them on staff for at least 90 days. Once you bring them on, ideally, sales experience, especially in the real estate space, is going to be a top priority. If they don't have wholesale real estate experience, that's okay. If they have sales experience, that's, for us, that's a must. You have to have sales experience. The wholesale experience, acquisition manager experience is definitely an added benefit, but it's not a must. Now, with hiring this person, some of the biggest things you're obviously gonna have to do is train them on the script that you have, train them on how to run numbers, train them on how to follow up, train them on how to use the CRM. But once you get them up and running, which realistically takes maybe a week or 2 to get them to be fully confident in the system, then it's your job just to manage them, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, make sure they're hitting their metrics, continually train, continually improve, and have them eventually 100% take over the aspect of acquisitions. So you are then fully running the dispositions where you simply just sell the deal to the end buyer. Last and final step in being able to copy and paste this entire business model from what I'm doing into your business is looking at getting the disposition manager role filled. Because currently where we're at, based on what we've talked about so far, you are currently handling dispositions, right? You have your leads automated, your acquisition managers are locked in, getting you signed contracts, and it's your job now to simply sell the deals. As you continue to get that more and more automated and in line and everybody trained up, that's when you're then gonna go hire a disposition manager whose job is going to be to sell the deals that the acquisition managers get signed. Very similar startup process to hiring an acquisition manager. You just need to get the disposition manager trained on the softwares that you're gonna use, which I have free YouTube videos on walking through a couple different ones of those. Get them trained up on the scripts, on how to talk to buyers, how to schedule walkthroughs, and basically the entire disposition process. Give them a couple weeks to get fully vamped up. Once you're running that, you have acquisitions, closing deals, dispositions, selling deals, and your job then is simply to manage your acquisitions and disposition managers, make sure they're hitting their metrics, always watching your KPIs, making sure your cost per lead, your cost per deal, your cost per contract is well monitored. You track that, ensure that you're sticking to what metrics you should be hitting. And then from there, if you want to just run it with a lean team like that, you can do that and easily do a couple deals a month. If you want to scale past that, you slowly increase everything. You increase the lead flow, and then you bring in another acquisition manager, and then as needed, you bring in another disposition manager, and then you just continually slowly increase things from there. So that is the business setup that you guys can implement starting today in 2025 to be able to build a 7-figure wholesale real estate business, all 100% virtually, that you guys can do from anywhere in the world. I've, again, traveled to 20 plus countries at the time of this video coming out and been able to run and manage the team from anywhere in the world. Obviously, time zones can make things challenging, but that is the setup. So if you guys need help on that or have questions on that, drop them down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe as well for future content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.